I think it's interesting when a game console manufacturer launches a new marketing campaign, a new series of ads, a new slogan, because you know that some marketing team has been sitting in a dimly lit room for weeks working on all of this. The executives signed off on it. The entire corporation is extremely excited about how these new ads are going to make them a lot of money. So generally speaking, you would expect them to be pretty good. Remember the Nintendo ads from the early 2000s? Who are you? I was on all the posters, all the TV ads. The core message was to ask the viewer, which Nintendo character would you be? There's a lot of emphasis on Nintendo's various properties and the characters in those games. All the kind of stuff that makes Nintendo machines unique. So, you know, kind of clever, pretty good. PlayStation probably had one of the most memorable campaigns in semi-recent history. This is for the players. For the players. This whole thing, this whole advertising campaign was just throwing shade at the horrible Xbox One reveal. Yeah, back when the Xbox One was announced as this always online box that didn't support used games, that would force you to always have Kinect plugged in. It was just common sense to market the PlayStation 4 as the pro-consumer alternative. And it worked. Until Sony dropped that whole thing, because it's kind of hard to say you're for the players when you're getting sued for anti-competitive practices. Huge thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. War Thunder is all around the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever developed, and it's available to play right now for free on PC, consoles, and mobile devices. You can control over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 major nations, spanning decades of technological development, from the armored cars and biplanes of the 1920s to the battle tanks and fighter jets of the modern day. Each vehicle is modeled down to its individual components with intricate detail. Engines, weapon systems, fuel tanks, it's all susceptible to damage like you'd expect from their real-world counterparts. The game is designed with immersion in mind, featuring extremely detailed vehicles, realistic visuals and graphics, along with authentic sound effects to make you feel like you're at the center of the action. If you're a fan of military history or just good games, join the worldwide community of over 70 million players. And like I mentioned, there's now a mobile version of War Thunder, so you can take your battles on the go. So go play War Thunder right now for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile devices. Use my links in the pinned comment or video description to sign up today. New players and those who haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack on PC or consoles that includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of a premium account. It's only available for a limited time, so check it out today. And this leads us to Xbox. Today, they decided to try their hands at their own marketing campaign. I thought I was done talking about Xbox, at least for a little while, you know? Only a few months ago, I made a video about how these Xbox consoles are just not selling very well, and Microsoft probably shouldn't even make another traditional Xbox. I felt that they should just maybe further integrate Xbox into Windows and maybe create some unified platform or something, because I don't know, this ain't working out. We have the sales figures, ain't great. We're not entirely sure how successful services like Game Pass have been for the company. And overall, 2024 has just been a bad time for Xbox. I mean, most of the discussion surrounding the brand this year has just been how Xbox exclusives are now coming to the competitors' platforms. That's not speculation, that's just a thing that's happening, and nothing's off the table. Of course, this is usually a move reserved for a dying brand, because that's what Sega did before it pulled out of the console race. Even just a few days ago, Phil Spencer said it's too early to say whether the new Halo project is coming to PlayStation, which is corporate speak for it is probably coming to PlayStation. Because if it wasn't, Phil would say something like, "We feel that some brands should remain exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem," or something like that. But he didn't. He did not say that. I also made a video talking about how they're really leaning into the cloud streaming angle of Xbox, which isn't really going very well. And it just gives off a vibe that Xbox doesn't want to be Xbox anymore. I figured that Microsoft might try and ease these concerns more and more as fans start to ask, what's going on? And in response, they decided to launch a new marketing campaign. Here's the ad. That is not good. That is not good at all. And the fan base has not been a fan of this new ad or any of these new ads. And I could have told you that. I think everybody could have told you that. When the #1 concern of your community is whether you will remain committed to traditional game consoles, making an ad like this is a bad move. It's the worst move. It's like if everybody was scared that McDonald's was gonna stop making hamburgers. Like everyone in the world was freaking out about this. And then McDonald's decided to respond to these fears by saying, yeah, we actually don't like making hamburgers. We kind of just want to make the fillet of fish. Out of any possible angle to market the Xbox brand right now, this is the single worst decision. Imply that somebody's phone is actually an Xbox. An Oculus headset, that's an Xbox. Yeah, sure, the Xbox is an Xbox, but so is this. And that, and this. You see the problem here? If everything's an Xbox, what's the point of owning an Xbox? Like, it devalues the console itself. It seems pointless by comparison if I could just, you know, if everything's an Xbox. And that'd be true if the ad wasn't just straight up misleading. Look, I hate to break it to you, but your phone is not an Xbox. Your Oculus headset is not an Xbox. There are lots of things that the Xbox can do that these things can't do. Most games that you buy from the Xbox store don't work on the cloud right now. Lots of games in DLC doesn't support cross purchases even between PC and console. If you go buy Rare Replay on your Xbox today, that doesn't mean you can install Rare Replay on your PC, even though it's a game made by Microsoft. Microsoft is working on getting games to work on the cloud, but most games, like I said, don't work. And due to licensing issues, I imagine there's going to be a lot of games that never work on the cloud. And I really just don't think it could have came at a worse time. There's been so much doubt about the future of the Xbox brand. People are questioning how competent are the executives, and this doesn't help one bit. Sarah Bond said a long time ago, they're working on new consoles, new hardware. Phil Spencer, even recently, once again said that there will definitely be more consoles. But the fact you have to reiterate this over and over again shows that you're doing something wrong. It shows that people are not convinced, and you know people are not convinced because you're putting out ads like this. If Microsoft thinks that a phone is an Xbox, then maybe they think that a Chromecast style device that just streams games across the internet is a game console. There's been this new Phil Spencer interview, which is on the Rolling Stone, and it's just kind of weird. In regards to new hardware, Phil said, "We think about hardware that can create unique value for our players or creators on our platform. We don't need to do incremental hardware for our own benefit. Does a new device really give you a unique experience on screen in some way? It's less like the old days, going from the original Xbox to 360, that was standard definition to high definition. Now, it's harder to show the benefits." That's sensible coming from the head of the brand. I mean, everybody's noticed the diminishing returns in video game graphics, and I don't think most people are expecting some massive leap for the new boxes. But it's hard for me to applaud this transparency when it's entirely contradictory to what Sarah Bond, the head of Xbox, said about the next Xbox. That quote was, "We are moving full speed ahead on our next generation hardware, focused on delivering the biggest technological leap ever in a generation." So, which is it? What is this new box? Is it something that delivers unique value, that doesn't prioritize showing off the horsepower of this new technology? Or is it the biggest technological leap ever in a generation? Because those two concepts can't mutually exist. You know, it's either one or the other. We only have two quotes in regards to the new console, to the new hardware, and both quotes completely cancel each other out. Ugh. This is tiring. Look, I don't work at Microsoft. I don't have any insider sources. I can't say for sure what's going on here. For all I know, maybe when Sarah Bond made these quotes about the biggest technological leap ever in a generation, Microsoft was working on some supercomputer for the next Xbox, and plans simply changed since then. But more realistically, the reason for all these bizarre statements by Microsoft is because the actual plan for the Xbox brand is just something that the fan base will absolutely despise, and Microsoft is too scared to announce it. To me, that sounds like an all-cloud gaming future or something. Xbox as a service. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. None of this inspires confidence. Xbox just can't help but making fools of themselves time and time again. But I think 2024, for as bad as it's been for the Xbox brand, has given insight into how the Xbox brand has fallen so far. So there's this interview Phil Spencer gave a long time ago where he said the console wars were basically over and Xbox lost. He said that Xbox lost these console wars back in 2013. It was the Xbox One reveal. Yeah, since that didn't go over so well, a lot of people ended up buying PlayStation 4s. And then over the course of that generation, a lot of people moved from buying physical games to digital games. Digital games that were linked to new accounts that these people were making on the PlayStation Network. So over the course of the PlayStation 4's life cycle, people were spending thousands of dollars worth of games in DLC, and they wanted to continue playing those on future boxes on the PlayStation 5. Phil would say that the Xbox One generation was the worst generation to lose during the console war, because since everybody was moving over to digital, it would ultimately define which box people decided was their main console, whether they would use Xbox Live or PlayStation Network to purchase their games. Because of this quote, a lot of people, myself included, came to the conclusion that the blame for the downfall of Xbox could be placed pretty much entirely on the terrible decisions by Don Mattrick. Back in 2013, this guy said a bunch of stupid stuff, had an absolutely embarrassing reveal for the Xbox One that emphasized TV over video games, and all the backlash that followed, all the hate towards Xbox just kind of snowballed, and the brand could never recover. And it makes sense, or it did make sense, but then I started thinking about this a little bit more, and more, and then Xbox does stuff like this, and it's like, you know, Don Mattrick hasn't worked at the company for a while now. I can't blame him for this. Can't blame him for this ad. But we can blame Microsoft today and Xbox today. And I do blame them because they've made a lot of mistakes. Phil Spencer said that, well, because Xbox already lost the console war, it wouldn't matter if the upcoming game Starfield was the greatest game ever made. He said that even if Starfield was the game of the generation, people still wouldn't go and sell their PlayStations to buy an Xbox. But here's the thing. How does he know this? How does he know people wouldn't have gone out and bought an Xbox? Because Starfield wasn't the greatest game ever made. It was far from it. He said these quotes before Starfield released, and he would have known that Starfield's quality was dubious, to say the least. I mean, this guy was the head of Xbox or Microsoft Gaming or whatever position they give him, but he would be aware of the fact that the game was going to launch at 30 FPS on console, that the game world was pretty empty and bland, yet he still said this. And the more I think about this quote, the more I think about this whole thing that Phil said, the more it starts to piss me off. Pretty much every Xbox exclusive over the past few years has not managed to captivate a large audience, you know? So, Phil, how would you know whether Starfield would shift the console war at all in your favor? Because you haven't made a game of the generation contender. Look, I don't want to hate on Phil too much. I imagine that he's probably the only reason why the company is still even making game consoles, and if he steps down or leaves, I would not be surprised if Microsoft just makes Xbox some cloud streaming app before shutting it down in a few years. I don't know. Xbox has done some great things under his leadership, but don't try to place the blame on Xbox's downfall on Don Mattrick. Not when ads like this are releasing, you know? Don Mattrick was clearly out of touch with the consumer base, and I have no doubt that the Xbox One reveal was the beginning of the end for the Xbox brand, but it didn't have to be that way. Like, all of this happened 11 years ago. You know what Nintendo was doing 11 years ago? They were failing with the Wii U. People legitimately believed that Nintendo was about to get out of the hardware business because things were just going that badly. And now, 11 years later, They're on top of the console industry. A lot can change in that amount of time. And I don't think it's fair to place all the blame, or even some of the blame, for why Xbox isn't doing so great right now on an executive who hasn't worked at the company for over a decade. Instead, maybe try some self-reflection. Maybe if Halo Infinite was a great game, that might have changed the fate of Xbox. Maybe it wouldn't have, but it wouldn't have hurt. Maybe if Redfall wasn't a complete disaster, that might have convinced a few people to buy an Xbox. Maybe if the Series S wasn't disliked by developers so much, you could have gotten some games earlier on your platform. Maybe promoting Microsoft's cloud and PC gaming storefront actually did diminish the value of consoles. There's a lot of things that went wrong in the last 11 years. A lot of decisions that have contributed to the downfall of Xbox. Maybe, just maybe, if Starfield was a great game, people might have gone out and bought an Xbox. I guess I don't have to really worry about that anymore though, because everything is an Xbox. I'm sure that within a few years they'll roll out cloud support for most Xbox titles. Personally, I'm not a fan of cloud gaming. I prefer the lower latency and reliability of local hardware, but Microsoft knows this. People like me, the existing Xbox fans, are no longer the target demographic for this brand. And advertising campaigns like this show that. I get why they're doing this. I've talked about this several times. That doesn't mean I'm happy about it. It's just that everything else they've tried has failed. They lost the console war, and now they want to redefine what the word console even means. Xbox failed because of consistently bad decisions, all leading up to one of the worst decisions Xbox has ever had. Devaluing itself in the most embarrassing way by saying that everything is an Xbox, which is just gonna make everybody ask, why would I spend $500 on the next one then? Because I mean, I already have an Xbox right here called a phone, stupid. Don't you guys have phones? Again, huge thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to play it for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile right now using my links in the pinned comment or video description. New and returning players that haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack across PC and consoles, including multiple premium vehicles and other goodies. This is only available for a limited time, so check it out right now.